So one of the subjects naturally of great interest to me, because of my line of work and because of my mission in life, is the field of education, curriculum design, how people learn things, how people pick up skills. And what I want to talk about today is that there has been a backlash against, and rightfully so, rote memorization, right? Where someone just memorizes something, and it's like a couple of days ago, right? The video was about how isolated facts aren't learning. But we can and often have gone too far against that into the other direction. So what I want to do today is that repetition, especially repetition with some variation, is really fundamental to ingraining in us how to actually apply a skill, how to have it ready at a moment of stress, how to have it ready as the default fallback behavior, that there is a necessary aspect of repeating something multiple times when we're learning it. And this is something that, again, I think occasionally, traditionally, conventionally, certainly throughout history, if not recently, the school system maybe has gone too far towards repetition. That's where the backlash comes from, where they'll say, do these 60 long division problems without any consideration for why you're solving it, what those numbers mean, how the numbers can be used, or whatever, right? Or just some sort of similar exercise where it almost feels like busy work. But the counterpoint is that occasionally, especially if you see a tutorial online, so this is where it came up the other day, I have an email exchange with somebody about their learning process, and it didn't seem like it was sticking. And the problem was, as is often the case, a lot of online tutorials, especially free stuff, and obviously I've produced free stuff too, isn't hating on free stuff, but it's unfiltered. Oftentimes it's someone who has never tested the material, they don't have an education background, they haven't taught people before and figured out what isn't working, isn't sticking. And so what happens is they'll go beat by beat through things, but never have any repetition. They'll never repeat any steps. And so what happens is, as a learner, you're seeing each thing in exactly one context, exactly once, and you're not getting any practice in. There's no repeated exposure to it. And again, certainly not exposure to repetition with variation, which is where the learning really starts to sort of tighten in around the gaps. And so this is why when I'm designing my course content, my ebooks, the way that practices that we use in GAM Keto Club or otherwise, I'll build in various sort of systems where even if we're not just sort of repeating something for its own sake, I'll go out of my way to design in echoes of finding, okay, well, if at first we did something a certain way for one project, the next project we're going to do something similar, slightly different. And then the next little micro project we're doing something slightly different and build off that, but with a twist. And these sort of echoes ensure that we're getting repeated exposure to it. We're getting practice to it. And this starts to ingrain it in us so that if we need it, and we're in the middle of a process, we got other stuff going on, we can call upon it. That doesn't just come from having a one-time, once exposure in exactly one situation. That goes right in one ear and right out the other. Right? I mean, if this was sports, obviously people would need to drill things in terms of just repeatedly trying the kick, trying the throw, trying the takedown in wrestling for my background, whatever it was. And to an extent, when we're out there and applying things and doing things and taking action. And again, it's not just like this trivia contest of who can recall certain facts. Being able to really perform and do things requires an act of drilling, an act of consistently doing stuff. And this is why for GAM Keto Club and our approach, we focus on building games year-round as something we're continuously in the experience of doing within a particular set of platforms that we choose to use, mostly so that we're getting that repetitive practice. And again, not like rote repetition, not memorization, but that we have a lot of chances to come up to apply and change up and mix up how we're solving patterns that at first we've seen a couple times, that we see different variations of, that we build upon, and that's what really deeply ingrains it in us. It's not just like when people do game jams and they're making games for 3 weekends a year. It doesn't stick. It's all in one ear out the other, and doesn't become something that can pop off the top of their head for, okay, I'm in the middle of a project, I got lots of things to think about, I got other demands in my life, I just got to get this feature in. And where that's going to come from, if we're able to kind of do it on the fly, is having seen it in variations. So just when you're looking at, a skill you want to pick up, something you want to get better at, maybe it's like yesterday's video about verbal self-defense. Again, emphasizing it's not just about one-time exposure to it, not just about thinking about it one time, not just about even reading a whole book end to end. It might be about finding some sort of way to practice it, to drill it, to get some repetition in there, and to be working through it in a way that isn't just this sort of one-time feature, skill gained, I know Kung Fu moment, like Neo in the Matrix, like actual human beings who do learn and use any form of martial arts, self-defense, or other crafts and skills. It takes repeated practice, building on and repeating and practicing and drilling in order to stay fluent in it, in order to stay ready to use it, and in fact, to get to that point where we really can use it. So that's it for today. Thanks for always tuning in. Have another video for tomorrow.